Welcome to the Renegade Lifestyle podcast here with me, George Papp, helping you to empower yourself with practical strategies to exit the matrix and become ungovernable. Today, we are rejoined by Mike Cobb of ECI Development, building communities and off-grid autonomous homes in Central America. So welcome back again, Mike. How's it going?
Yeah, good, George. Always great to be with you, man. You've had some changes in your life. You got a little baby over there now, so that's probably making life a little more complicated, but wonderful all at the same time, right?
Both, and it's amazing
Yeah,
how much of both. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's something you can't really explain to anyone once it happens. It's just something fascinating and magical.
yeah, yeah.
And as you know yourself as well. So yeah, going through the motions. It's basically right now no schedules or anything right now. It's literally like just she decides the schedule, the
Totally.
baby. You're just going to go with it and
That's
see
right.
if it works. It will have to work. So yeah, that's where we are right now. 2 weeks in. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's fascinating, and it will be a beautiful experience, I'm sure. So yeah,
it
that's
is.
where I am.
Yeah, man. Well, I just tell you, it only gets marginally better in terms of you getting to call the shots. I find that my ability to call the shots ended when that first one was born. So
Yeah, no, I think you take the back seat, right? You're literally
pretty
like
much.
you once the first is born, you're fourth in line if you have a dog or a cat.
There you
Like you're
bingo.
you're right
Exactly.
right behind everything, just holding everything
Yeah,
together. Hopefully, yeah.
right. Well,
But yeah, nice one.
one of the things that we talked a little bit about before, and you're in Cyprus, and I raised my family overseas, not in my home country, right? I raised my daughters in Nicaragua. And you talk about being ungovernable, but a big part of being ungovernable is being governable to yourself, right? That personal responsibility aspect. And so I think that children, especially people who are considering taking their children overseas, like you have, like we did, like many other people are doing today, the ability to work from anywhere has opened up this incredible freedom for people to move with families, move with small children. And it's tremendous because, the lessons that a child learns living overseas is they're profound. They're deep and they're profound and they're lifelong. And this idea of being governable unto yourself, right? The personal responsibility and taking that responsibility, right? That is part of what you learn, I think, when you take a family overseas. I know I did, my girls did. I'm sure your children will too, George. And that's maybe the biggest gift we as parents can give our children, is the ability to become self-governed and in an environment that allows that to actually happen, outside the nanny state. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll touch on 2 points there. The first one is, I think if you look at people who haven't traveled to different cultures, they become very closed-minded, right? So you
Yeah.
just don't really get that. It's like reading one page of a big, huge book. And it's unfortunate that people stay there, but that you can't kind of control that. But it's important to really try and read as many pages as possible, get to know different cultures, and you can really, I think that really expands you as a person, and then gives you more opportunities as well. And
It
another thing, I
does.
guess, from there is the parenting of being self-governable is very important. It does start at home. A lot of this stuff starts at home. If you're going to be like a communist dictator at home, it seems to me that that feeds into the world, and they become used to that kind of thing and accepting of that. So it really does filter from the top. If the government's being like that and you're accepting that, you usually get brainwashed to do the same thing to your kids, and then
Yeah.
the cycle continues for another generation. So trying to break
Right.
that cycle, it's very important to look into it. There's a lot going into parenting that definitely remains under the surface.
A, a ton.
And I'm just
A
starting,
ton.
so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just starting, so I can take a lot of advice from you, Mike. I'm sure.
You know what? Just general. I mean, getting to know you here over the last several months as we started this, these podcasts and conversations. You're going to be an awesome dad. It's more than anything the consciousness of what it means to be a good dad or a good parent, right? Is like 90% of it. 90% of it is just having a consciousness that you will be a good dad or you will be a good parent. That last 10%, like you're going to learn, you're going to read, you're going to take advice, whatever, right? That last 10% is really important. Don't get me wrong. But that first 90%, that's the biggest part of it. Just deciding that you will be a conscious participant, and maintain a consciousness about being a parent. That's huge. And you already have that. You already do that. And your kid is lucky to have you as a dad, man.
Oh, nice one, Mike. Same with your kids. I'm sure they have an amazing knowledge base, and also, I think it's important to have this aspect to know that parents have the ability to really improve that kid's life. It's a lot of parents I see sometimes. I know we're kind of going into this parenting thing quite a bit, but it is an important aspect, right? I mean, it is kind of how the world works. It kind of decides how the world is, and if you like I said, be a dictator at home and do things in certain ways, it will reflect in society. And in terms of also learning, there's many different techniques. It doesn't have to be in a setting where there's kind of an indoctrination going on at the moment. It's very difficult, I know, to navigate some of these systems. But there are many ways: homeschooling, unschooling, if that's an option.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you just have to step out their way. Those kids will end up on a path. You guide them, yes, but I guess sometimes you just got to step out of the way. Don't force your agendas onto them, because it can be done. We all have those ego AI thoughts going on in there that you sometimes act on. But it's good to try and just step out of the way, guide them, and let them flourish.
It is. Well, look, I have no idea what you wanted to talk about today, and I'm sorry I took us down a rabbit hole here.
No, I like it.
But that the family is the nuclear element. It is the foundational piece of all society, right? Society rests on the family, and it is our job not to brainwash our kids, right? But to give them the values and the philosophies and the core character that they have as individuals growing up. I mean, if we do that, we've done our job, right? I mean, we can go on and do other things too, but to give our children, the core values and the character that gives them the right purpose in life or the right focus in life, that's our job. And when we do that, we actually do create a better society, right? Because society is not a thing. Society is all the individuals, right? It's every individual. And so to make our impact in the family, that's primal, that's so basic and so foundational, and we have to do that. George, and I am, we are, right? But then to also instill the kinds of confidence and self-confidence in our children, the dictatorship kind of, it's my rules, my way or the highway, whatever, right? I mean, a lot of people parent that way, and it's just a different way of parenting. I think I would agree that it doesn't necessarily instill confidence and self-confidence, the ability to make decisions. I mean, we let our kids make bad decisions, right? Make the bad decisions and, suffer the consequences. I mean, you don't let them run out in the street. Of course, that'd be a really bad decision, right? So we got to be parents, but at the same time, you let them stumble, you let them fall, you let them bang up a little bit, you let them make bad decisions in life so that they can learn from those, because, that's how we become responsible and self-responsible, so that we're capable of self-government. Because if truly what we're looking for is to be free individuals and free actors in the world, we have to be able to do that. And it requires a skill set that comes from very, very early age. There's a great book, and I think I'll probably butcher the title. It's something like Everything I Needed to Know I Learned Before Kindergarten, right? Something like that. And I truly believe that is really where it's at. The kinds of things that you learn as a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3, 4, right? Before you're learning anything else, you're learning how to be a responsible human being. And the biggest part of that is observational. Children watch what you do. They certainly hear what you say too, but they watch what you do. And if you can instill those values, those really deep foundational character values, then we've done a tremendous job as parents, because we're bringing children into the world that can be self-actors and can be self-governable. And and become a member of society with those skills, and then further that, not just, into society, but to their children, right? Because it is generational. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We're seeing, I think, the demise of society because of the lack of family unit and lack of dealing with traumas of the past.
Right.
I think people don't really know how to, and a lot of psychologists and those kind of people also have those traumas. So it's like they can't facilitate exactly in the right way to help people. I mean, to be honest, it helped me at first when I first needed help. I
Okay.
used a counselor
Uh-huh.
a few years ago, but it ultimately needs you to look within, and then you can then really go from there. I mean, once you look within, I know it's quite a cliche thing, but it really is true. And do the self work, and that's the most important thing.
It is. Well, in counseling, I've been through some counseling myself, and great counselors actually take you like to the door or take you to the road, but you have to open the door. You have to walk the road. It's not theirs to walk; it's yours to walk,
Yeah,
right? But it is that look inside, and so a great counselor will get you to the road. You walk it, and they're kind of like they're kind of like that GPS thing. It tells you, okay, well, take a left up here, maybe. Yeah, all right, you're doing great,
yeah,
but here's something else to think about, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. If anyone out there is struggling, I think the first thing that I did was I was suffering from depression. I was working in banking. I hated what I was doing for my life. Those long hours and stuff. So when I had no purpose and I was in depression, I realized it was childhood trauma and stuff mostly. I mean, most of it is to do with that. So at least the counseling helped shift some of that emotion away onto someone that I couldn't really release at another stage in my
hmm
past experience. So once that was released, it allowed me to then focus inside, actually. So I think that if anyone's struggling like that, I think counseling really is something that can help with the right person, especially as a
absolutely,
first step. It's not the end all or anything like that. It's definitely the first step,
right.
potentially for you. So yeah, bit of advice there
And
potentially.
there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stigma around counseling, right? And
Yeah,
people
yeah,
feel like, I'm weak if I go to counseling, or I'm bad or whatever. But I mean, I think the good news is I think a lot of that stigma is getting washed out now. People don't. I mean, I guess I'm sure some people still believe that, but yeah, I'm a big fan. If you need counseling, you need help, you need someone to talk to, go get it. I mean, it's there, and look, it's just like anything else. You're going to have great counselors, you're going to have crappy counselors, and if you get a crappy one or you don't feel like you're getting what you need, switch, right? Then you're not marrying them, right?
yeah,
Just they're for hire, right? They're for hire. Yeah.
exactly. One more thing, actually, when you have a negative thought, um, which is most of the time. I feel like this is our default programming is like negativity. A lot of people have this, especially when they haven't done the self work. If you have that negative thought, just think of it, just recognize that it's a thought, and just realize it's not yourself. It's just a thought, and then
Right.
think of the opposite. Because why aren't you thinking of the opposite? Because your programming has actually been negative, so you can change that to be positive.
You
So
can
yeah,
reprogram.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, amazing start, Mike. We've actually not discussed anything to do with ECI, but why not?
Well, that's all right.
To
Yeah.
be fair, I mean, this is all holistic. We have to be holistic
Yes.
in pursuit of freedom and exiting the matrix, as we call it. It's not just one facet of off grid, or it's mostly self work actually that will get you
It
there.
is.
But yeah,
Yep.
we have tools like ECI who can help you move off grid into communities of like minded individuals.
Yep.
So I guess because we're on a new video style podcast right now, many people may not have an idea of what ECI is. We don't want to go into a long intro, just a very short intro to what ECI is in a couple of lines, I guess, because
Yeah.
many
Sure.
people would have probably known what ECI is indeed. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, it really simple. Our tagline is that we help adventurous souls, with inspired lifestyles, right? So we deliver resort communities around Central America. We're now in the Azores as well, Portugal. So we're in Portugal plus Belize, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Honduras, El Salvador. So we build residential resort communities for people who want to live overseas. and it's generally an adventurous person, of course, right? Somebody spirit of adventure. And the interesting thing is a lot of people with the spirit of adventure are also free souls, right? They're really, they're freedom oriented. And so what we've found is that the many now of our communities and our neighborhoods that we've built over the last 27 years. So we've been around for 27 years. We've been doing this a long time, and we've literally helped thousands of people find a home or a property or a residency, in some cases an investment, but mostly, residencies and homes and lifestyle overseas. It's really leaning towards a freedom oriented individual, a self responsibility kind of communities. And so it's wonderful. The neighborhoods that we've created, people come and they come, and we always recommend people rent for 3 to 6 months before they buy. And so they'll come and they'll rent a house for 3 months or 6 months. They'll start to make their friends and build this social network of people who really understand them, George. It's not like you walk down the street and you're talking about freedom and liberty and, exiting the matrix, and people are looking at you like you got 4 heads, right? And so all of a sudden you're in this neighborhood, you're in this community of people who kind of already understand you. Yes, we're all different. Yes, my interests are different than yours, but at some real base foundational level, I care about freedom. I respect your freedom, right? That's the whole thing about being a libertarian or even an anarchist, right? The idea that I'm allowed to do whatever I want as long as it doesn't impact you, and vice versa. So we can respect other people's wishes, desires, and live in a harmony that comes from this mutual respect that foundationally comes from freedom, right? I have the freedom to do what I want. You have the freedom to do what you want. And when we're in a community of people like this, I can tell you, it's so refreshing. People who come and become, property owners, and not just owners. Some people rent long term. They might rent for 2 or 3 years because they don't have the assets to be able to make a purchase. Although, we do make it easy for people, right? We have financing, and our homes start in our Freedom Village at Grand Pacific. A home start at $129,000. And so I know you talk in pounds, but that's like maybe 100,000 pounds or something. I'm close. Anyway, but for 100,000 pounds or 110,000 pounds or whatever the exchange rate is, right? You can actually have a home, I don't know, 150 yards from the Pacific Ocean. So you're in a beach community in a neighborhood of people who already really get you at some important spiritual, philosophical, foundational way. And it's tremendous. And it's very satisfying as the developer, as the person who got this all started. And now, we have an incredible team of people. We got 180 people that work for the company, and everybody has their roles, right? But as someone who kind of got this thing started with my business partner 27 years ago, to see it get this life of its own and begin to offer a lifestyle for people who are really feeling like they can't find it somewhere else, right? That they're looking for it. They don't know where to get it. And all of a sudden, here's this really wonderful community in a great location, and we have several of them, and people can come and really find home, right? Home, like where the heart is. And that's incredibly satisfying, George. I've got to say, when we look at what we do for a living, so to speak, I think a lot of people punch the clock, put the hours in, and get the paycheck. And I do too. We all do that, right? That's how we have to live, right? But at the same time, there's this incredible level of significance and meaning to what we've been able to do, the people we've been able to serve, and the lives we've been able to change for people looking for this type of neighborhood, this type of community. It's wonderful, man. It's wonderful.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean ECI. I mean, it's a great project that you've got going on around the world now. Actually, not just Central America, which we'll get onto. I mean, to be honest, once you do the self work, you end up having opportunities to help the world and have businesses that actually help people rather than not and doing some sort of mundane
exploit,
thing.
right? Some businesses are exploitative, right? I mean, it's the opposite, right? Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So excellent stuff. Yeah, I think ECI. I mean, in regards to like what we were speaking about last time, we were at a point where you weren't in Madeira yet, or the Azores. Sorry, the Azores.
Azores, yeah.
Yeah. So has that completed, and that's all set up now?
It did. We're so excited. So
Wow.
we closed on the property last fall, and then it's a bed and breakfast. It's about a 350-year-old manor house that was one of the early, I guess, when it was started in 1687. That's when the chapel and the manse was first built, which is the first housing on it. And then over the rest, from 1687 to about 1850, they expanded, and now it's about a 12-room villa with again, some just beautiful gardens, and it's spectacular. It overlooks the ocean in the little town of Maya. It was one of the 4 homes that were deeded to captains of the realm, so to speak. So that the king sent these 4 captains out, and they divided the island of San Miguel into 4 pieces. Well, this was the home of one of the captains, and then this little town evolved around it, and so about 28 or 29 years ago, something like that, this German couple bought this old manor house, and it had fallen into incredible disrepair. The photos before and after are incredibly vivid, but they bought this thing, and they spent 2 or 3 years fixing it up big ways, and then they spent another 20 years kind of just continuing to fix it up. They turned it into a bed and breakfast. It was operating as a bed and breakfast for about 25 years, and we bought it. And because they were retiring, they didn't have kids, they wanted to go back to Germany, and it was like a big anchor around their neck, right? So we bought it, and we bought the piece of property next to it so we could do some additional development, add a residential component, because again, a lot of people are looking for rentals. They want to come stay, visit, but some people actually want to own and live. And so we bought the piece of property next to it so we could build a residential component. And if somebody's not in their home, that they could put it into the hospitality, so that the bed and breakfast would have those rooms available to rent out for folks that aren't there. But we're building residential homes, townhomes, kind of connected, so that people who want to live there really can live there if they want to. And then they would have the pool, and then they would have the room service and the services of the bed and breakfast as well. So it's very symbiotic, the two elements. And I just got news this morning, George, that there was some talk over the last 3-4 months, something like that they were going to close the golden visa program in Portugal. And there was a lot of pressure to close it. But I got word this morning on one of my weekly calls that has been tabled, and maybe tabled for a significant amount of time. I think certainly through the end of the year. So for folks looking to obtain a European residency, the golden visa is phenomenal. It's the easiest, fastest way for someone outside of Europe to get an EU residency. And so we're putting that back on the table, so folks can actually become an owner in this bed and breakfast with us, and with that investment qualify for the golden visa. Then there's the lawyer piece and all that kind of stuff that you do separately. But we've got a great lawyer in Lisbon who helps with that. So yeah, George, we're excited to be back on I guess the original focus, which was the villa becoming a pathway for golden visa for folks looking for that residency in Europe.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, there's definitely there are challenges. I was going to ask about the challenges. Also, there is a nomad visa, I believe. A lot of European countries have those digital nomad visas. I don't know too much about them, to be honest, but definitely check them out if that's another option. I wanted to ask about the challenges of actually building in Europe, because you've been focusing on Central America. Have you, apart from that potential visa issue, have you had any issues or challenges building in Portugal? Because I know Europe has more stringent regulations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have not built. We have engaged a local architect firm who's been consulting with us. One of the first things we did, even before we bought the property, is we made sure that we had what I'm going to call zoning. It's not technically called that, but let me just call it the zoning to be able to develop on this piece of property. And before we closed, we got that. She and her firm helped us do that. So we believe in hiring experts, right? If it's outside of our field of expertise, we're going to go find somebody who can do that. We do a lot of the outsourcing of things, engineering, architectural work, especially in a new jurisdiction like Portugal. We've never worked there. So we did that. We've not done any construction, but we've had numerous conversations with her and folks in her firm now. And you're right, it is going to be a much more complicated process. It's probably going to be a lengthier process on the front end to get everything permitted, entitled, get the approvals, all those kinds of things. I would say that the backside, once you start construction, will actually probably go faster than it goes in Latin America. So I'm guessing that if you combine the two, it's probably about the same amount of time. We'll see. I don't know because we haven't done it yet, but just sort of talking with her about the front end versus the back end. And in Latin America, the front end's pretty easy, but the back end, the construction and stuff like that, can drag out. So we'll see. But again, it is going to be more complicated. There are going to be more regulations for sure. But you follow the rules, you follow the process, you hire people to help do it. And, we're very confident we're going to be able to do an excellent job of delivering what the customer wants in the Azores, as we have throughout Central America, for the last 27 years.
How many sort of properties is one property? I mean, how many, I guess, facilities are there? How many are available to buy, I guess, purchase?
In the Azores or generally?
Yeah, in the Azores, yeah.
Azores, right now, the only thing that's for sale will be a direct investment with us in the villa, and that would be for the Golden Visa purposes. Then, when we begin to develop the property next to it, which would probably begin in about 18 to 24 months, so we're still a couple years out, we anticipate somewhere around 24 to 28 addresses. And I call them townhouses. I don't really know what to call them, but as you walk around an old city, right? You walk around Lisbon, you walk around just an old city, how, you've got these homes that are all connected to one another, but they're 300 years old, 400 years old, whatever. We're going to basically replicate that architecture. We're going to create something where it'll absolutely be modern. The electric will be modern. The plumbing will be modern. The internet will be incredible. The energy efficiency will be phenomenal, right? I mean, so we're gonna modernize sort of the guts of these buildings, but the outside and the facade will look and feel 200-300 years old, right? So it'll blend harmoniously with the villa, which is 300 years old, and so we'll create this kind of the best of both worlds. I guess that's what I would say, right? It's got the look and feel of old, but everything on the inside is brand spanking new and works great, and it's energy efficient, and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, but 24 to 28, George. That'll be the number in that property.
Sure, it's nice to stay within the actual architecture of the country or the village or the town, wherever you are.
Absolutely.
It really does make a difference, because you see some towns, even in Cyprus, well, to be honest, a lot in Cyprus, where they build a lot of huge mega buildings to try and make it like a new small scale Dubai or a small scale Barcelona or something. But it doesn't suit it. And then you look at Greek islands, where they don't build anything at all. They've just stuck to their old ways and just freshened them up, and it looks amazing. And that's why they get so much tourism.
It's charming, right? The charm is incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Any plans to sort of scale into other jurisdictions at all? Like, potentially other places in Europe, or even on the other side of the world, so like in East Asia?
That's a good question. Probably not Asia. Asia is just simply too far away. To fly anywhere in Asia is, it's all day. I mean, it's 14 to 16, 18 hours of flying time, airport time. So it's a 24-hour day to get there, get home. And that's not so bad. I know people do it, but the bigger challenge is that everything you do overseas in that part of again, we work Central America, right? So we're 1, 2, 3 hours off of any time zone in the US, Canada. But Europe, okay, now you're 3-4 hours off the East Coast, 5 hours off the East Coast, whatever, right? I mean, Azores, I guess, is 4 hours, Lisbon, 5, whatever, right? So, okay, 4 or 5 hours off the East Coast, which is not horrible. But Asia, you're now 10 to 14 hours. So literally, the middle of your night's the middle of their day. And to be able to work and manage in that kind of a flip flop of time is probably more than we're interested in doing. And and we have enough. There are literally millions of people who already live in Central America. From the U.S. and Canada, there will be millions and millions and millions more people moving over the next 15 years as the baby boomers retire. By the way, I just saw a statistic. I think it was $61 trillion is going to pass from the U.S. baby boomers to their kids. That's the amount of wealth, $61 trillion. I mean, that's incredible. So the baby boomers over the next 15 years, as they retire and begin to look at life overseas, I mean, it's a big number of people. It's a very wealthy generation. And so the ability to serve those people in Central America and Europe. Europe was a natural, easy segue for us, but Asia would be too, because I think a lot of people will go to Asia. Thailand, Chiang Mai has become an incredible place for U.S. expats. Cambodia. Again, I was in Cambodia a few years ago, and just see the incredible opportunity for folks who want to have a very affordable retirement and in a tropical location, right? I mean, so there are great locations in Southeast Asia, but for logistical purposes, probably not for our company. But yeah, we want to expand into Mexico. We will be expanding into Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador. These are future expansions for us that are fairly certain. I mean, the future's hard to predict, of course, but assuming that we continue on in the path that we've continued for 27 years, I think that we'll be in Ecuador, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, and Mexico over the next 3 to 5 years, serving people who want to live in those particular countries. Right?
Definitely seeing a big rise in that. I mean, there's a huge flow of people leaving Canada and US to
Yes.
go to those Central American countries.
And Europe now too, George. It's kind of interesting. The thing that really put Central America on the map for a lot of Europeans was COVID. Um, and the lockdowns, because what we found in Central America and Nicaragua specifically was a lot more freedom, and people were looking for that. They were looking for places where they weren't going to get locked down. They weren't going to get stuck in their apartment, get to go out twice a week and go shopping for an hour. I mean, this is all the nonsense stuff, right? And so Nicaragua really became very, very well known in the freedom circles as a country that wasn't locking down, didn't have a vaccine mandate, didn't close businesses, and so became a real haven for people looking for freedom. And it still is, actually. And it's and I think it will continue to be. Again, future's hard to predict, of course, but they understand what it is to have that sense of I'm not even sure what the right word is, attraction. Let me just call it that. They understand what it means to have a sense of an attraction to bring people to their country that are different, and the freedom loving individuals. We're adventurous, and I say we because I think I qualify. You do too, of course. And so we are adventurous, and so we're looking for places that are a little bit off the beaten path, but who will respect that freedom and autonomy that we can have. And so yeah, Europeans started coming over in bigger numbers for the first time ever, George. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, and Mexico as well is
Yes.
another one that was really like getting a lot of flooding of population there from the US and Canada.
Correct.
But yeah, I saw it. I mean, here in Europe, they are having issues, right? Inflation's pretty high.
Yep.
I guess that's everywhere, right? But you've also got the lockdown and everything. How that was dealt with by the governments in the EU was very totalitarian. So I think
Yeah.
that's where people started to shift. I mean, to be honest, I'm definitely open to buying in Central America. I think the first step for us is like to build some kind of reset off grid ranch here in Cyprus, but also
Wow.
purchase over there. And I think, to be honest, I would be probably contacting you in the next few years to go for something
Well, we
because
look forward to it. You can run your podcast from down there. That's a beautiful thing. You got high speed internet, and yeah, it's
plan
tremendous.
that's the plan B, plan C. But it's
Yeah.
always good to have them.
Yep.
Also, are they? I mean, we discussed this briefly last time. Are they all autonomous in terms of how they have water in regards to the electricity? Is it off grid or is it on grid, or are they all a mixture of each and all?
That's a good question. A couple of the neighborhoods that we've built, one of our Freedom Village, the Ava Freedom Village, is electrically off grid. So it's all solar. All the roofs of every home are solar and battery backups. We do run a water line, and there's a sewer system to collect the waste and process it, ecologically. So it's and then we have. And we have fiber optic. I think we brought fiber to the edge of the community, and we're Wi-Fiing. But we're also building a low EMF neighborhood at Grand Pacifica as well, and that one will be fiber into the home. Each of the homes will be attenuated with the type of construction, the windows, conduits will be metal, and then the homeowners association, the actual rules of that neighborhood will prohibit things like cell phone use outside, because again, rules are important. People think, oh, anarchy, no rules. That's not really what anarchy is, right? Anarchy is saying, I am going to agree to these rules and then I'm going to abide by them, right? It's a contractual relationship. And so, this neighborhood will be actually pretty restrictive, and homes have to be built in a certain way so that any kind of RF radio frequencies from inside the home can't get out as well, right? A lot of people think about, RF protection, meaning, the home itself is built to keep RF from coming in, more than 5Gs and stuff like that, right? But actually, the construction methodologies will be, again, very restrictive, because if somebody has Wi-Fi in their home, they're allowed to, right? But it can't emanate out of their home either. So, and if people are walking around outside, they have to have their cell phone off, powered down. They can't walk around with it. So again, these are the kinds of rules and restrictions that will be in this neighborhood. But for people who are EMF sensitive, and there are a lot of people who really have an incredible sensitivity to it and get sick, they physically get sick, and we don't know what 5G is going to do, right? So that's kind of an unknown, right? Who knows how much radiation that's pumping out, right? So there's the people who actually already are affected by it, and there are the people who anticipate that 5G is probably not a good thing, and so they want to put themselves in a place where they get the lowest possible. It's not zero; it can never be zero, but extremely low levels of EMF. And we're building a neighborhood like that at Grand Pacifica. That one will also be solar. We do run water. The thing about water that's tricky is water wells are fairly expensive. And if you have to do one for yourself, it really bumps the cost of your home way, way up. And so the distributed cost, right? You build one water well, you have pumping systems and all that kind of stuff, right? You can actually do far, far better on an economy of scale in a distributed system. So we do that with water. We do that with internet. Power is a user's choice. If they want to put solar, they can put solar. If they want to have a home that ties into the grid, they can do that. You can do both. It's not an or, it's an and. A lot of people do both. So that's important. And then the next layer is obviously food resiliency. The property at Grand Pacifica, it's huge. It's 2,500 acres, 1,000 hectares. So we'll talk hectares. It's 1,000 hectares, and it already has cattle. We have corn and sorghum. We have fruit groves. We have mango, soursop, orange, lime, lemon, bananas, plantains. We have all of these sort of in big scale. We have bees. We have our bee program is expanding incredibly. We have a woman who's I call her a bee nut, but anyway, she is a bee nut. And so she started with one hive, and I don't know, she might be up to 8 or 10 now. I mean, the amount of honey she's producing is insane. So we've got all this kind of, big scale stuff. And then we've also started with our small farms. We put about a hectare into small farms, and any of the residents and people who guests, but long-term guests, renters, like 6-month, 1-year renters, and then owners can actually come in and get a little piece of land. We put water in, so it's ready. So again, giving people the ability to have food resiliency at a communal level, which is what we do sort of at the big scale, then also individually with their own piece of property, they can grow what they want and share, not share. We're right on the ocean. We have a farmer's market every week. I think it's every Saturday morning. And so the local farmers bring in all their organic produce. The fishermen bring fish in. We have a guy that does slaughtering. So he'll bring, cuts of beef and chicken and pork, eggs, cheese, all of it there, all of it local, all of it free range, hormone free, organic, and it's tremendous. So you get this incredible quality of life. And George, the cost of living is, it's 1/4 of what it would be in London. I know that. So it's 1/4 of what it would be in New York City, London, San Francisco, right? And, maybe 1/3 or half what it would be in a rural place in, say, England or the United States. When we lived in Managua, we lived there for 14 years. I would say that our cost of living was 1/3 of what it was living about 100 miles west of Washington, D.C., in a small town in West Virginia. So very, very affordable, but very, very high quality of life with the organics, hormone free. So lots of good stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that ties into the working on yourself, the health, and the
Absolutely.
health and mental health actually come before you make progress. I think
Yep.
a lot of people want to make progress and then we'll take care of the health afterwards, or when I have money or something. But it's
Right.
actually the other way around.
Got to take care of that first, or you're not going to be around to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And George, I don't remember how folks can get a hold of me. I know that you've got a special link,
Yep.
and maybe you can share that so people can get a hold of me if they want to get some more information about any of our properties and projects. And
of course, I wanted to just say, I think it's amazing that you guys have kept it to 120,000. You can actually purchase a property for 120,000. I know that's a minimum.
Yeah.
But because of rising costs, I think that's
Yep.
amazing that it's still at that price. And I've seen it for myself moving from London to EU, which is actually still quite a lot higher than where you are in
Right.
Central America, but it's still a big difference. But yeah, I think it's amazing that you've managed to keep those costs down and keep it at a very affordable rate with financing as well. But yeah, we'll have all the links in the description there, Mike.
Good. All
Again,
right.
for everyone to have a look at. I think it's definitely something you guys can have a look at with regards to if you need a plan B, plan C, even plan A. If this is your plan A, why not take a look? Because you can get an all-in-one solution here instead of trying to hustle yourself through maybe a jurisdiction that you have no idea how to weave your way around. So yeah, definitely check out ECI. We'll have all the links in the description. Remember to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. Get access to our free monthly newsletter as well, which is packed with content from the team and special guests, helping you with little golden nuggets of information to help you move away from centralized systems and step into sovereignty and freedom. But that's all we got time for. Thanks, Mike,
That's a
again.
winner, man. No, it's good stuff, George. That's the important stuff in life, and you're doing a great job of getting it out there for people. So, thank you for what you're doing, man.
Nice one. Keep up the work there at ECI. I'm definitely going to check it out. I'll be in touch in the next couple of years, I think, and actually make something happen there. But yeah,
All right.
peace and love to everyone. And you, Mike. Take care.